to the Philippines, seeking safer ground away from the danger zone of a possible volcanic eruption. Action's team have been spewing from the Taal volcano
now, where
since
authorities
Sunday.
have advised
Now,
those
lava
near
has
the
started flowing.
erupting Taal volcano to protect their mouth and noses with
Wow!
Hi.
Hi.
Can you hear me?
Yeah.
I am George Calvello and I am a visual journalist.
My name is Micah Doctolero.
My name is Kayla.
I'm Regina Herbosa.
A grade.
I am a first year.
I am a senior at Santa Clara.
I'm a freshman.
And your major.
I'm undeclared business.
Economics.
I'm a public health major.
Great. So are you from the Philippines?
I was not born in the Philippines. I have family who are from the Philippines. Both of my parents were born and raised in the Philippines.
Born and raised.
Born and raised.
Yeah.
I am not from the Philippines. I'm from the Bay Area. But my mom is from the Philippines.
Okay.
Yeah.
You have any other family members?
Yes, so my mom has 3 siblings. They're all living in the Philippines. They all have kids. So we have like a really big family.
So your entire family, they live in the Philippines?
Yeah, cousins, grandparents, extended family also in the Philippines.
Well, were you given any like prior warning before the eruption, or did it just happen?
It just happened, which is weird because our seismology agency, if the government usually can detect, but for some reason this particular eruption was just all of a sudden, which is weird.
When Taal volcano erupted, I was home here in Manila when I heard the news. No, there was no warning or none that I was aware of. I just saw one of my colleagues' Facebook post that Taal erupted and that he was on his way there already.
Yeah, so for my cousins, I'm not so sure that they had much of a warning because I know they lost a lot of stuff. They pretty much was just like their immediate, like their family was able to get out in time before all the destruction happened. My cousin's uncle, who runs an orphanage at the base of the mountain as well, they were able to get some kind of warning and be able to evacuate the orphans, and so yeah, 2 different scenarios.
Not that I know of or that they talked about. I asked kind of what happened, and they just said like, oh, there's like ashfall, and they just like kind of got news from like the news kind of thing on coverage. I think the first couple of days were pretty bad with ashfall, but after that they said that they weren't even really keeping up with news. I guess that shows like how they were affected, which was not really direct kind of thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Let's see. Are you and your family members affected by the eruption, and if so, how?
Yeah. So luckily my whole family is like based in Manila, which is like 30-40 kilometers from the volcano, which is near. Like it seems near, but we weren't like directly affected. Like nobody had to like evacuate or relocate. So luckily we weren't directly affected, but the smoke from the volcano and like the ash actually like dropped to our house. I mean the whole Manila and like the entire area of like that area of the Philippines was affected by the ash, but like nobody really was like directly affected. So
I think some of my family were directly affected. They had to evacuate. Some of my cousins are working now in Manila, and they said that just like the ashfall affected them, but not that I know of like directly affected. Just like some of like maybe like the ashfall and things like that.
Do you remember what it was like when it first erupted?
Everyone was panicking at first. I was monitoring the news on Facebook and was looking if how brave it was, because it was a rest day for me. It was a Sunday, January 13, I think, or 12, and I was just just lying down on the bed, and just saw the news, and I was trying to contact my editor if he was gonna send me there. So I was preparing my bag, but I was kind of hoping I didn't have to go there. But when I first got there, I left Manila, I think 2 in the morning, and I arrived there around 4 in the morning outside, and we were waiting for the sun to come up, and everything in Tagaytay, if you're familiar with Tagaytay,
Yeah.
everything was covered in ash, and everything was gray. It's just like in a black and white film. It's like a black and white film in real life. Yeah, so everyone, even the trees and the roads were all gray. So it was hard to believe that. I was trying to blink my eyes and trying to see if this is real. Everything was in black and white. during that
Wow.
time, on the second day when I arrived.
Our cousins who live right at the base of the mountain, they had just actually finished building that house recently, and it was kind of their forever home, which they invested everything in for their family. And then after the eruption, most of their house is like under like feet of like just ash that's been piled up, and so and with the rains, like it's pretty much concreted like underneath, and so there's like no way they can access their house ever again. So they're currently living with other family in Manila. In terms of the orphanage, we had to connect with other family and figure out like if they could get the orphans place in our family home in Lucena, and so because we had that available, like we were able to get them there so that their operations there weren't affected. I'm not sure too much about the state of the orphanage post eruption. I just know that the orphans are currently staying at our family home.
When I got there, and it was really, really hot, and I was perspiring, sweating so much, and the mask got wet, and I was able to go to the volcano island itself with my mask destroyed already. So when I was there, I was just, I was climbing. It was a mini hike going up to the crater, and it was really hard to breathe hiking when you're in a N95 mask. So I just ditched it. So I guess what I'm trying to say is I haven't felt anything as of now. I think it will be later on in my life, I guess. I hope not, because yeah.
You talked about the land near the volcano. You talked about how at least a lot of the severely affected ones they had to evacuate. So is that land around it, like what happens to it? Like, is it just completely uninhabitable? Like,
if you're familiar with Taal, the volcano island itself, there were people living there. So I think that island will not be good for building up houses again for a I think at least 3 years. But eventually, as the ashfall subsides, trees will grow again, and people will try to get back there and get back to their businesses. It's a tourist spot, the volcano crater, if you're familiar. It's a tourist spot, and people have built houses and even offices, government offices in that island.
you mentioned that your cousins had to leave their animals.
My cousin kept telling me how, I think people that she knew, like literally they just had to like leave everything, like they just had to like be evacuated and things like that. So kind of pets were like the ones that like totally got left behind, because they just like, I don't think they had the capacity in order to, I think people were obviously first, so I don't even think they had the capacity to take animals with them, so they all just had to be left behind, which is like really sad.
When you mean animals, you mean like farm animals or like pets?
I think both. That's what I heard.
That's you. Okay.
Yeah, that's what my cousin was telling me.
It's just like there was like a week, I think the week after, there was like no work in Manila and like the surrounding areas around the volcano. So yeah, my parents just couldn't work also. Of course it's bad because my parents could not work for like 3 days, and my brothers didn't go to school also for 3 days. Yeah, it was just like a standstill from my family there. Nobody could really do anything.
When my mom told me about it, like my first like question was like, can't insurance cover like the house being destroyed? And my mom, like me not growing up like there, I guess I didn't understand like the full perspective of it, and so she explained how like insurance like really isn't a thing in the Philippines, especially in like more rural areas. And so like even if there was such thing as insurance, like it would definitely not cover anything at all. And so because this was like, my mom keeps emphasizing that this was their forever home, they had invested a lot into it because this was going to be the one that they passed down, but now that that's gone, they have to restart somewhere else. And so currently they are in Manila, which is very much different from the countryside where they were at and the life that they wanted to live. So
how has the government responded to this eruption, and are people receiving enough aid and relief?
The government was prompt and strict in implementing safety measures, and the aid and relief were kind of overflowing. There's 2 towns, Agoncillo and Laurel, Batangas. They were the most affected. Their houses were completely covered in ash with all the fissures, the earthquake. So everyone was trying to get to Agoncillo and Laurel to give relief and aid, but it was almost overflowing with volunteers coming down to Batangas. But the thing is, there are a lot of other towns surrounding the volcano, but most of them don't receive the aid because they weren't, severely affected. Like their houses weren't destroyed, their livelihood weren't much affected. But the surrounding towns, like there are a lot of banana plantation, coffee plantation. So these crops were affected, and the people relying on those crops don't have anything to harvest anymore because of the ashfall. So they weren't severely affected, but they felt the damage in their lives.
I'm not too familiar with how the government responded to the actual disaster.
I don't know like 100%, but I've been hearing that it's been slow.
I'm not really sure how the government has responded totally. Like my cousins haven't really talked about it, or my aunts and uncles. But yeah, I'm not really sure. But it seems like there needs to be more done. It seemed like pretty sudden, and I don't know. It seemed kind of mixed, so I don't know. I feel like more could have been done.
Do you think this eruption has gotten enough attention in the media from when it erupted until now? Do you think it's still going strong, or what do you think?
To be honest, I didn't know that there was an eruption until my parents texted me with pictures of like their cousin's family home, which was completely gone. And so I didn't realize the severity of it until I started hearing more about my other cousin's uncle, whose orphanage was also affected. And so if it wasn't for the family that was affected, I wouldn't have known, because I feel like it was so underrepresented in the media that it didn't even come up on my news feed until like well after the incident.
Well, when it erupted, obviously there was like so much coverage. I was like seeing it on Instagram, like Facebook, Twitter, but like now, since it kind of like it's been like a month almost, it kind of died down. So it's just why has it died down? It's still not as bad, but it's still kind of erupting, and the eruption really affected so much people.
From what they were saying, there was like a decent amount of coverage, especially in the beginning. I'm not totally sure what the coverage is or what it entailed. But yeah, so I'm not totally sure. I'm not totally sure. I feel like it's not getting as much. Yeah, that's why they didn't really talk about it. Because even my cousin said like, oh, I don't even know really too much now.
How can anyone help in this situation?
Sorry, I have to think about this one.
It's okay. No, go for it.
I feel like donations are a huge thing. From what my cousin was saying, like even just like simple things, like I think they were like sending like diapers and like things like that, like simple like things, like everyday things that we like use. I know that like families that are affected like could really like use. So like donation drives and things like that. My cousin like really talked about how like it was like that's how they were trying to help people, which is just like it seems like simple but like can really go a long way. I feel like supplies are a huge thing. Like how they had to literally be evacuated from their homes is like huge.
I would say just being aware of how the people were affected. If you can donate, probably. Sorry, voice cracking.
It's okay.
So if you can, maybe just donate. If you know any direct donation to an agency or whatever, non-profit that could donate.
So definitely, like, what this is doing, like bringing awareness to the subject because of the lack of attention that is received, is one way to get word out there so that help can be sent to where it's needed, so that resources can be sent to the places and to the people who need it most. With all the ways that we can contribute to problems like this, whether that's crowd fundraising, whether that's helping or supporting organizations that we know that are actually doing work to alleviate the burden that this disaster has caused on the lives of so many people.
I guess spreading awareness maybe, because the media covered the disaster extensively, but not as much as they won't stay there anymore. Like, it's a different story now here in the Philippines. There are a lot of other news in the Senate and everything, the government. So I guess awareness and to remind people that it's not over in those areas. And a lot of people really lost their livelihood. And if they're able, if people outside are able, maybe they can fund or give financial aid, something like that, because it's really hard for them to get back on track and to get back on their lives, because their farms are destroyed, the lakes surrounding Taal, the fish. There was a huge fish kill, so there were a lot of losses of income for them. So I guess financial aid and livelihood aid, I guess awareness. That's mainly the thing that people from outside can do, is awareness, so that people can help. Maybe you can, contact Philippine Red Cross or like NGOs. Yeah.